What a night. Oh gosh, what a night. I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good. I feel good, cause your perfume isn't loud, and only I can talk about.
Dagmar said, beautiful people, thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media. You're listening to Goal Diggin with Dagmar, and I'm your host, Dagmar Demore, your Carolina's agent. Are you looking for a real estate agent that you can trust? One that can hand you the keys to your forever home? Look no further. Find your dream home today with me, award winning realtor and author of the critically acclaimed book, The Complete Guide to Buying a Home. Get the best buying, selling, and investment advice to select your dream property. Your first step to your new home begins at yourcarolinasagent.com. That's yourcarolinasagent.com. Dagmar Demore, Realtor, unlocking the home of your dreams. Today's show is being brought to you by Direct Solution Resources. Direct Solution Resources is a government certified firm that provides a wide range of strategic organizational solutions and project management focused on improving the operational capabilities of their customers. Their innovative solutions reduce costs, improve productivity, and provide best practices for continuous improvement. To learn more about DSR services and capabilities, visit directsolutionresources.com. Who better to discuss the topic of generational wealth with us today but Shaughn Lee, a financial services provider specializing in taxes, life insurance, retirement planning, and financial literacy education. Born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia, Shaughn holds a bachelor's degree in business management from Norfolk State University. He is a professional tax advisor, licensed life insurance and annuities agent, and certified financial education instructor, offering various financial services and financial literacy education. Shaughn has a passion for helping people to create generational wealth through financial education and mindset developing, helping people to reach their full potential in life. I am so glad to have you here on Goal Digging with Dagmar.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Dagmar, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for having me on your show. And thanks, everybody.
We're
I'm
gonna
here. We're here.
yes. So we're gonna get into this conversation. There's a saying that goes, build your own table so your children won't have to ask a stranger for a spot at theirs.
hmm
You and I have been talking about building foundations and legacies and strengthening our communities for over 20 for over 20 years. So I'm eager to dive into this topic with you after the break. You're listening to Gold Digging with Dagmar, and I'm your host, Dagmar Demore, your Carolina's agent. Welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Gold Digging with Dagmar, and I'm your host, Dagmar Demore. You can connect with me on Facebook as Dagmar Demore Realtor, on Instagram at Your Carolina's Agent, and on the web at yourcarolinasagent.com. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing generational wealth with Shaughn Lee, certified financial education instructor. Shaughn, in the Black community, we are now having greater conversations about breaking generational curses. When did you realize that moving beyond just breaking generational curses and into building generational wealth was essential?
So thank you for the question. Um, I got interested in this about 20 years ago. I had a mentor in Norfolk, Virginia, that brought some things to my attention on how insurance was used to create wealth in other communities, and it was something that most people, most of us don't know about in the Black community. So um, it's something that intrigued me. And if you think about it, it's something that really we weren't taught in schools. We didn't really talk about it with our families because I think a lot of our parents really they didn't have it to teach us. Our parents' generation was all about find a good job and keep a good job so that you can at least live somewhat of a stable life.
Yes.
But now, as more information is becoming available, and we have technological advances and more access to information. A lot of that is changing, and it's changing our perspective on what is generational wealth. I know I never had a conversation about generational wealth with
Mm-hmm.
my parents, you know.
Yes, correct.
So
So that's good. So, as a financial services provider, what do you see as the most common mistake in people's attempt to establish generational wealth? So they think that it's the right thing to do, but it's actually
hmm.
not.
The way that I would answer that, I think the best way to answer that question is that I don't see people trying to create generational wealth.
Oh,
I got
wow.
to modify the question a little bit,
Okay, okay.
because
That's
I
interesting.
think that's the biggest issue is
Mm-hmm.
that one of my mentors and business partners, Dr. George Frazier, I want to pay homage to him, and I'm going to take a saying, something that he always says is that, white people are planning for 3 generations and black people are planning for Saturday night.
Mm. Okay.
So we're not planning these things. We don't talk about these things. We're not really thinking about these things. We're thinking about how we're going to pay these bills at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just different day-to-day life, just trying to make it.
Okay.
So we're not even thinking about generational wealth. That's the problem. That's how I would answer that.
So you make a valid point. So we're trying to get through this day to day life, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our struggles are very overwhelming. So if I can't pay my electricity bill
Mm-hmm.
next month, how can I think of building generational wealth? What advice do you give someone? Where do they start?
For a
How
per
can they start?
for a person in that situation, usually we sit down with people one on one, but I'll tell you something that we commonly see. People have more money than they think they do. It's just misdirected,
Okay.
right? I'll bring up a statistic that my sister, shout out to Teeny Boo, she posted this on social media earlier. There's a report that just came out that says that black spending power increased to $1.6 trillion in 2021, but our net worth decreased by 14%.
Wow.
That kind of tells the story right there. We're too caught up in consumerism,
Mm-hmm.
in purchasing things that we really can't afford, that have no value, that don't increase in value, that decrease in value. And so it's like we have the means, but it's misdirected.
Okay.
We got the money. I mean, there are nations that don't even have a GDP of $1.6 trillion, and we spend that every year in this country.
Okay.
So the problem is that it's misdirected. I think for a person that is struggling, just let's say just to pay their bills, and they're just trying to survive. Usually, we can look and see, okay, maybe that $5 Starbucks coffee, you might have to cut that out every month, or
Mm-hmm.
you might have to put those cigarettes down. So now we get into health too. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
it's just there's no budget, there's no accountability. So we have to start. Really, you have to start with basic financial literacy. That's how I answer that question.
Okay. And that's something that you provide.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So if someone wanted to start or figure out, just have that conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do that with them and sit down and budget and go through their finances to create a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do I do a financial needs assessment.
Mm-hmm.
People can email me at info@ShaughNLeeFinancial.com.
Mm-hmm.
Shaughn Lee is ShaughnLee. Also on social media, they can reach me at Shaughn Lee Wealth. That's on IG and Facebook. So we can get on the calendar and sit down and look at your situation. Another thing is taxes. A lot of times people don't have the right tax election, so they are paying too much money in taxes during the year. People want a big return.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to kind of even that out some so that you have more disposable money throughout the year so that you can invest that money
Okay. That
into
does make
something,
sense.
even if it's $100 a month. If you do $100 a month over time into the right investment vehicle, the right insurance policy, or even in the market, over time, that money will become something. right?
Okay.
But it takes time, you know. If and that's the thing, is that you have to start early. And if you're starting late, it's better to start late than not to do it at
At
all.
all. Okay. So on the flip side, there are people that inherit houses from
Hmm.
a deceased family member
Hmm.
and then they sell it immediately, or they're left a lump sum of money and they blow it.
Hmm.
What lessons do you want to teach future generations about maintaining and expanding that wealth?
Um, Real estate right now is a great strategy is to hold it because you want to create passive income. So if you hold a home and you rent it out, you have money coming in forever. And there are also creative ways to make more money per month, um, as opposed to just doing the traditional renting it out. Traditionally, you have corporate housing, you have communal housing, you got Airbnb. So
Hmm.
you can increase that income, but then you have an asset that increases in value over time. You have the equity, you know, you can use the house as leverage.
Hmm.
If you do have to sell the house for some reason, sit down with somebody that can help advise you on how to invest the money.
Okay.
That's the problem, is that people will sell the house and then they go on a trip, they go buy that fur coat they've been wanting, they go get
Hmm.
that Benz, and then,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, 6 months later, the money's gone.
Okay. So the first step in maintaining and expanding that would
Hmm.
be just to come up with an investment strategy.
Yeah, sit down with somebody. You
Okay.
know, you can come up with a portion of the money to spend because maybe you deserve it, but
Mm-hmm.
the majority of it should be invested. And sit down with somebody that can advise you on what to do with that money to grow it for for the future.
Okay. Okay, that's great. It's great
Hmm.
talking to you. Let's stop for a quick commercial break. Welcome back. You're listening to Goal Diggin with Dagmar, and I'm your host, Dagmar Demore, your Carolina's agent, unlocking the home of your dreams. If you're just tuning in, we are discussing generational wealth with Shaughn Lee, certified financial education instructor. Shaughn, when people speak about generational wealth, they're usually talking about finances. They only talk about finances. Do you think anything else constitutes generational wealth?
Definitely. Um, the first wealth is your health. That's the biggest thing I can say, because you could be a billionaire, but if you are bedridden, sick, in pain every day, you can't enjoy the money.
Hmm.
So I would say our health is our wealth first and foremost.
Hmm.
So that plays a big role in accumulating wealth. To me, I think that if you have to be healthy to enjoy the money that
Hmm.
you are accumulating. So
Okay.
that's the biggest thing that I would say as far
Okay.
as to answer that question.
And our health habits, healthy food or lifestyles usually handed down from generation to generation.
It
So I
is.
see that,
And we usually
as
neglect
valid.
our health because we chasing the bag.
That as
So
well.
Confucius said, people, what did he say? Basically, he said that while people are chasing wealth, they neglect their health. And then when they get the wealth, they spend all their money trying to restore their health.
Hmm.
You know,
That's true. That's true. So, our ancestors did the best that they could with the resources that they had. And unfortunately, a lot
mm,
of people tend to just reflect on the negative trauma that has been handed down from generation to generation. As we have these conversations now in the Black community, what do you feel are some of the gifts that were given to us by our ancestors?
the gifts that were given to us by ancestors, we are the strongest of the strong, right? We are descendants of people who made it through the worst possible situation you could ever think of. So first of all,
Hmm.
we are strong people, and we're survivors. The other thing is we have our ancestors' legacy, and we have, if we look at what they did, we need to go back and retrace that, and we need to modify it and redo it, because really we're worse off than they were. And then the reason I say that is because our ancestors, they may not have had the resources that we have
Hmm.
now, but the one resource they had that we don't have is unity. We don't have
Yeah.
unity.
Hmm.
If we had that, we could take that $1.6 trillion in a consumer and buying power and we would basically have our own economy. We could have our own nation, but we're too busy being divided. When in 1865, when the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, and we was so-called free from slavery, we owned less than 1% of the wealth in this nation. And guess how much we own now? Same thing, less
Okay.
than 1% of the wealth in this nation. So that says a lot.
hmm Um, I hear what you're saying, and I agree to an extent. But what about the systems that have been created to divide us? So it's not necessarily us as a people that constantly,
Hmm.
we have some division, but there are a lot of systems that have caused this division.
Hmm.
So how do you form a community around that? I think a lot of it is, my opinion has to do with education.
Hmm.
What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I mean, there definitely we have systematic racism that goes throughout the financial industry, housing, school, political system, education, correctional. So all of that has been set up. The system is designed for us to not win.
Mhm.
That's why we can't afford to not be united.
Okay.
If we united today, all those systems will crumble because they depend on us for their survival financially,
Mhm.
um, intellectually, the power of our minds. We
Mhm.
run corporate America here for all of these rich, you know, Caucasian owned corporations.
Mhm.
Some of the brightest people are black women in these high positions and black men that's what school does. It trains us to go work for other people.
Okay.
So I definitely agree with you. Those systems have been set up that way, but the way to overcome it is for us to come together and be united against all of that. And we're together, we're stronger than any system that was put here to divide us. That
Absolutely.
part is up to us.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely. After the break, we'll wrap up our discussion on generational wealth. Welcome back. When we left off, we were talking about generational wealth with Shaughn Lee, certified financial education instructor. Shaughn, tell us more about the services you provide.
Yeah. So I do. I have a partner that I partner with, a franchise. So we provide tax services and consultations, especially for people who have businesses. Also, life insurance, which includes permanent cash value life insurance, which is a little different from what most of us know about. Retirement planning and financial literacy, training and education. So those are some of the core services that we offer at Shaughn Lee Financial.
Okay. And what are the pillars of creating generational wealth?
The pillars of creating generational wealth are, first of all, it's being financially literate, right? The second pillar of creating generational wealth is our mindset. And I'll give you an example, right? So you have two mindsets. Let's say you want to buy this Mercedes Benz you always wanted.
Mhm.
Um, the poor person's mindset is I'm gonna get an extra job, I'm gonna work overtime so I can afford this car,
Okay.
right? We're using our disposable income to purchase whatever the asset is that we want.
Mhm.
The wealthy person's mindset is, okay, I want this Benz or whatever the car, whatever it is that
Mhm.
I want. I'm going to purchase an asset that's going to make money. Then I'm going to use that money to purchase the car, the Benz or the thing or whatever it is.
Okay.
If we could just get that down, like that's one of the main things is like why we look like we winning, but we not winning.
Okay. It's the shift in that mindset.
That mindset has to be shifted. Discipline is part of it. Again, that goes back to mindset. We have to be planning ahead. We can't just be planning for Saturday night.
Mhm.
You know, um, it's a sacrifice because it's everybody wants instant gratification. You know, you can go spend that money now and you can look great and go on social media and look like you're something that you're not. Social media actually magnifies that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So those are the biggest things, because it's not hard and you don't have to be rich to do it, but you just have to have the knowledge, and you have to apply the knowledge,
Okay.
you know.
And what I want to add to mindset, because there are those that are not planning for Saturday night.
Hmm.
There are those that are not planning at all because
Hmm.
they don't have any hope or they don't see a way out of their
Hmm.
struggle. So I want to add that um,
That's
there's a
true.
shift in the mindset that is possible despite what your financial situation looks like at the moment.
Yes. I mean, it's always a way.
Yes.
You just
Yes.
have to set your mind to it. You have to, you know, make up your mind and make a decision.
Hmm.
You know, the mind is powerful, you know,
Absolutely.
so you can always change your situation and things you can do to make more money. If you need to go take that training class or go learn a trade or go back to school or
True.
learn more about business or whatever it is. But especially today with technology, with all the opportunities that are out here, to be honest, there's no excuse.
Okay.
You know, it's all in your mind. If you
Hmm.
are hopeless and you know, in your mind, and that's going to be your situation.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell everyone again how to reach out to you.
Yes. So you can check my website at ShaughNLeeFinancial.com. That's ShaughNlee, ShaughNLeeFinancial.com. You can email me at info@ShaughNLeeFinancial.com. And my social media handle is Shaughn Lee Wealth.
Great.
Yep.
It's been great having you here. I love talking
It's
to
been
you.
great. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Generational wealth is passed down within a family from one generation to the next. The first generation accumulates wealth during their lifetime, which they then pass down to their children. With successful and proper planning, those children can pass down the wealth to their children and so on. I leave you with a quote from wordsmith T.I. to start your week. We must keep ourselves busy with finding ways to generate wealth for generations to come and work to pass down things to our children for them to pass down to their children. I'm grateful to everyone that tuned in both locally and beyond. Please contact me if you need help finding a realtor in your listening area. Get the best buying, selling, and real estate investment advice. Visit yourcarolinasagent.com. Continue to tune in every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Please remember to connect with me by going to goaldigginradio.com. Follow me on the socials at Goal Diggin Radio, including YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to be a guest on the show or want to learn more about advertising and sponsorship opportunities, email media@goaldigginradio.com. Shout outs to Visual Vibes Media for producing the audio and video for the show. You've been listening to Goal Diggin with Dagmar, and I'm your host, Dagmar Demore, your Carolina's agent, unlocking the home of your dreams. On WDRB Media, the voice of the community, for double the information and inspiration. Until we speak next week.
Whoa, what a night! What a night! What a night! Oh gosh, what a night!